Very often, people are discouraged from believing they are creative. In many businesses, creativity is often isolated and deemed the purview of just a few employees, sometimes called creatives. In schools, many people think the only way students can be creative is in a fine arts class. But we need creative thinkers and innovative problem solvers in every subject area. We need creative government officials and medical professionals and scientists and, of course, teachers. As you'll see, there are creative and innovative professionals in all of these areas and more. One caution: just because students are creating something, it does not mean that they are engaging in creative thinking. When students follow a list of directions or create a product using a heavily scaffolded process or procedure where all the students' products look pretty much the same, they are not thinking creatively. Creativity requires more than drawing or creating colorful products. Finding language to describe what creative thinking looks like can be difficult. The tip chart has been developed, tested, and revised several times to provide some common language to explain these difficult concepts. You can obtain a complete copy of the tip chart from the link in this page, along with a searchable database of lesson ideas on Henrico 21. Use these questions to review at least one of the videos provided. You'll find a secondary and elementary video that does address this category of the tip chart, at least to some degree. Or you may want to seek out additional videos on Henrico 21. Please note that we're very thankful to the teachers that opened up their classrooms for these videos, but they are real classrooms. Sometimes things go well, and sometimes there are things we learn from. Just because a video is included, it doesn't mean that it's the only example of how to address the tip chart. They are included here as conversation starters to explore the tip chart and reflect on your own practice. Creativity has a bad rap. We think of certain people as being creative, or perhaps specific jobs that require creativity. This is due in part, according to Kevin Ashton, by the prevalence of the creativity myth that is attributed to the famous composer Mozart. It was supposedly reported that Mozart said he would go to sleep at night and all the notes in his creative and complex compositions would just fall into place, and he'd just get up in the morning and write it all down. No erasures. Unfortunately, this idea became very popular, and many people thought they couldn't be creative. In reality, from analyzing his notebooks and letters, we know he really struggled with composition as much as many great composers did, and often wrote drafts, revised them, threw them away, moved parts around, things all people do when they are thinking creatively. Every content area has people who can be creative. Consider science. Isaac Newton is someone recognized for his achievements, which are actually the result of creative thought. His laws of motion are recognized today, but he got to them by understanding the basic concepts, applying scientific procedures, analyzing and evaluating scientific information until he proposed his new hypotheses, which have become universal law. Newton is the first to admit he stood on the shoulders of giants, meaning that he knew the work others had done and were doing and built his research on that foundational knowledge. Sir Ken Robinson has one of the most popular TED Talks of all time. It's titled, "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" Hopefully not, as the Tipsy can help you determine ways to promote creative and innovative thinking in your classroom. Ken Robinson, who's done a good deal of research on creativity, defines creativity as imaginative processes with outcomes that are original and of value. Robinson talks about 3 different types of originality. The first is related to a single person. This he calls personal originality, and I like to think of it as creative for me. How exciting it is when working with a student and they make a breakthrough and create something that is creative for them. It demonstrates growth and understanding and can sometimes be the culmination of a long and complex path. This is one example of creative thinking. Another level of originality relates to the outcomes from a particular community. Robinson calls this social originality. Both your class and your school are social units. When working on problems with your students, one group may find a creative solution that is similar to one proposed by students in a previous year or even one that exists in the world at large, but it can be original within the social setting of your class for this year. The result could be valued and even desired. The final type of originality improves humanity as a whole in some way. This is the historic originality that we all too often compare our own creative efforts to. Holding yourself or your students to this standard can actually inhibit creativity. In a classroom setting, most teachers will focus on personal originality, but should also recognize and acknowledge social originality. We have all been novices at something. We need academic exercises to build foundational skills, but students can never become experts or develop sufficient expertise if they aren't given the opportunity to tackle authentic problems. Sometimes these problems are authentic in their context only, but the best problems are problems truly found in the real world. Look at this list about experts. What do you notice about this list? Note that deep understanding of content knowledge is critical, but there's more to it than that. Experts go beyond content knowledge and basic skills. Contextualized knowledge refers to knowledge that is relevant to a content area or situation. You wouldn't go to a jazz musician to diagnose why you aren't feeling well, and you probably wouldn't ask your doctor to play a set at a concert. Well, maybe not all doctors, but both a jazz musician and a doctor can be experts in their field and be creative, but their knowledge and expertise is contextualized. Therefore, it's difficult to teach generic skills for critical and creative thinking, because all problems eventually rely on some body of knowledge, or more than one. What do you think about the bullet, may not be able to teach others? How often do you have students teach others to show they are experts? Why do you think the research for the National Research Council suggests that experts aren't always good teachers? Yes, they may be experts in their content area, but are they expert teachers? Teaching has its own knowledge and skills, so congrats on being an expert there, but not all students can be expert teachers. Bloom's familiar taxonomy of cognitive demand is cumulative. That means you can't apply a new skill in a content area if you don't understand the concepts behind it. You can't evaluate arguments or potential solutions to a problem in a content area if you don't understand the content, or you can't apply appropriate skills or analyze content-specific information. And students cannot engage in creative thinking if they can't do all of the things below it. It's like the idea that you can't break a rule until you know what it is. You can't be a creative thinker in a subject area until you can remember, understand, apply, and all the others. So what can you do to design instruction to promote critical and creative thinking? Educational experts and researchers from Project Zero at Harvard suggest that students must be given an opportunity to engage in what they call thinking moves. Students can implement thinking moves at different levels, but as students become prepared to address complex problems using the content they are learning and the thinking moves they are developing, they will be more prepared to engage in creative thinking and pose innovative solutions to problems. You can learn more about these thinking moves from their book, Making Thinking Visible, or visit their webpage with lots of free information. A strategy becoming more commonplace are performance tasks, in which students analyze and evaluate information related to real-world complex problems and create and justify their solutions, such as this performance task created with third-grade teachers. The third-grade students have to design a habitat for an animal that is returning to their part of the state. You can find additional examples of performance tasks for different grade levels and subject areas linked to this page. This is a game to promote creativity. On the left are big ideas or concepts that are addressed in different subject areas. On the right are different activities students engage in different classrooms. Pick one idea from the left and determine how you would address it with an activity on the right. For example, how could you explore rules and laws by creating and telling stories? How might you help students understand conflict by interpreting documents? See what you can come up with. The CREATE framework gives students suggestions to consider to promote creative thinking when given a problem to solve. You can use the CREATE prompts in any grade level and content area. What recent problem have you and your students grappled with that the CREATE framework might give you a different perspective? Digital storytelling is a process that can be applied to most content areas. The key is making sure students develop a script, then analyze it to come up with an appropriate storyboard before you dig too deep into the media. Too many digital story projects bomb or just take too long when the first two steps are skipped. You can use a variety of digital tools to create digital stories, but even simple presentation software found in most Office suites can work. If you haven't already, review the document summarizing a review of literature on additional ideas of what students should be able to do to demonstrate creativity and innovation, as well as activities, processes, or strategies you can use in your classroom to help students develop these skills. Consider which strategies you're already using and any that you want to learn more about. You're encouraged to explore some of the ideas in the literature review on your own. If there are terms or strategies that you're not familiar with, how might you find more information? Are there knowledgeable experts in your building or district you can talk with? Do you have PLCs or study groups that might be interested? And don't underestimate the value of a good internet search. Now that you've reviewed some examples, a few strategies, and part of the research background on strategies that promote creative thinking and innovative problem solving, consider what you want to do in your classroom to help students develop these skills. Do you want to tweak existing strategies or try something new? Use the tip chart to plan and monitor a lesson activity that promotes creative thinking and innovative problem solving. Consider whether you want to design a new lesson or redesign an existing activity.